Roel Galloway, Spinners, Season 3, episode, whichever episode it will be. I'm here with Steve Potts of Criminal Damage.
Morning.
Morning to you, which we go back to 1982 to a compilation called Country Fit for Heroes Volume 2, where the band that I was involved with, On Parole, were featured alongside Criminal Damage.
The only two bands on it.
And how many years ago is that now? 40...
I mean, it's a 40th anniversary, so it's probably 41 this year.
41 years.
Yeah, 41 years.
So we're in Brighton. Where did you start out then, as a kid?
Well, the band originated in Eastbourne, which is just down the street, a few miles outside Brighton. Keith and Tez put it together at Kids Home at the time. I think they gave them funding for drum kit. And Chris and Spud joined as well. Yeah, unfortunately, after Criminal Crew was released on Country Fit for Heroes, along with On Parole, some bad habits and a severed hand, and prison put the band, well, they had holiday for 40 years, basically. Just put it back together last year.
But it's kind of like, because we were talking about it before, on the sleeve it mentions that they're from Eastbourne.
That's where the band originally started, yeah. I mean, most people in the smaller Sussex towns, you all end up gravitating towards Brighton eventually.
Yeah. So how big was punk back then? And when did you first get into punk?
I think I was about 10 years old. I sat up late one night listening to John Peel on a radio, the little one speaker thing you stuck in your ear. And I was aware that my mates were going in different directions and liking shit clothes and shit music I didn't like. And he played, I think it was The Clash he played, and every single hair on my body stood up on end and my face moved. And I knew that was me. And then I started clocking the punks in town. And I was aware that, I mean, football was a good way of fitting in, wasn't it? I love my football. But otherwise, I just was aware that, you know, my background and my childhood and stuff, that I didn't fit, didn't belong. And then when I clocked them, I kind of realised that it wasn't just fucking me. There was other people. It was my, like, epiphany, my moment. And I've followed it ever since. I mean, really, you know, in 77 I was too young to get the best out of it.
Yeah.
But then the two-tone stuff turned up and that seemed almost as good, didn't it? It was almost the same sort of thing. A bit more palatable for your parents. And then the early 80s, the real stuff arrived, didn't it? That was for me, the real deal.
Yeah. There was three different stages. You had the 76, 77, and then you had the 78, 79 bands who were coming through from that period. But then you had the third wave when it was just kids from the street who really got up and tried to make a stand and get their point of view across, you know, which is when the Rejects and the Upstarts, the Exploited, and the rest would follow through.
And I remember putting on GBH City Baby Attacked by Rats, and we just played it again and again and again. And Gyro Day, Merry Down Bottles, we played it for about 12 hours, just like a hypnotic loop. And it was just like, yeah, it's what I was waiting for, really.
Yeah.
So much. I mean, the other stuff was good. It certainly lit the fuse, but by comparison, that and the Oi Elms and that, for me, that was the real deal.
So which was your first gig you went to then?
I went to see Susie and the Banshees at the Brighton Centre.
Right.
Someone said Robert Smith played bass, but I couldn't tell you what Robert Smith looked like then. Maybe now he's a bit distinctive, isn't he? But at the time, but yeah, that was my first gig.
What year was that then? 79?
Very probably, I think so. Yeah, I was a kid because it's a big venue. You could get in. It was easy in those days.
Yeah.
But yeah, and yours?
UK Subs, 1980. Anti-Pasty supporting at the Middlesbrough Rock Garden, and.
Yeah.
I was 12. It was like a baptism of fire for me. You know, it was an intensive gig to go to, and then you get hooked on it. You know, you try and see as many bands as you can after that.
I mean, I went through the system. I'm social workers and child psychologist, and I kicked out of school and stuff. And all along, you heard, "Oh, you'll grow out of it. You'll grow out of it." I'm pushing 60, and I'm still fucking up for it.
So you kind of like Criminal Damage when they formed. Were you friends with them at that point?
Pretty soon afterwards, I think they were just petering out when we met them. I met Keith and Tez, and we were just kindred spirits, really.
Yeah.
We were just slightly different outlook from a lot of the punks in those days, and we just got on. And Tez, when they reformed the band, Tez came back and jumped for us initially, but it's that sort of work-wife-life balance in it that wasn't quite for him this time. But we've been mates for years. All of us have known each other our entire adult lives.
Yeah. But you saw them back in the day, didn't you?
No. They've played so few gigs.
Didn't they?
I mean, they played Skunks with the Insane, I think, in London.
Yeah.
They supported the Partisans, the Subs, and the Anti-No League, I think. And there was a couple of other little local gigs, and that was pretty much the end of it. Just quite often the way, innit? No one normal likes punk rock, but it all fell apart quite quickly, really. But I mean, that one song was just somehow giving them a legacy for 40 fucking years.
So then, Brighton then. Did it have a vibrant punk scene, in the early 80s?
Well, the early 80s, it was what you'd term, I mean, people overthink this, but it was, full of punks and people that looked like punk rockers, but it burned out quite quickly. The punk and the skinhead thing, within, I don't know, 3 or 4 years, a punk rocker in Brighton was someone with a haircut your mum had liked, a pair of leather pants and a Clash t-shirt, who worked in an office, or Krusty or Psychobilly. The actual sort of hardcore punk like you get in, I don't know, London or Leeds or Birmingham just didn't really exist down here. I mean, there's still a vibrant scene now. There's still plenty of kids playing punk rock, but it's not the sort of, kick your head in and smash shit up stuff that we went through. They've taken, I suppose, all the difficult stuff out of it and refined it. But it's still going.
Yeah.
But I mean, as regards looking, and the same attitude that we had, no, not really.
Because it's a different society now than what it was 40 odd years ago. It's everything's. Whether it's for the better or not, that's for other people to decide. For me, it's a lot different. I'd hate to be growing up now as a kid, not having the youth cultures that we had as to choose from.
I mean, it was for we as kids. It was you sort of the cult that you followed quite often dictated your politics or where you come from. Most of your mates were the same, weren't they? It was I had other mates from other tribes or whatever you want to call them, but they were never your true friends, were they? It was always that stick together mentality, really. And I mean, growing up these days, I suppose, I mean, to me, it's all the rough edges have been taken off it. I know people talk about grime and things like that and that sort of stuff, which I don't know much about, but it just doesn't seem that wide-eyed excitement and stuff that we had. We thought we was going to change the fucking world, didn't we? Bring it down single-handedly.
But when you're that age, you've got no fear, and you're facing up. There was where I grew up in Scotland, it was quite a bleak outlook. The fathers were unemployed, the elder brothers and sisters were unemployed, and it was a cauldron of angst and how we're going to make a living, what we're going to do next.
I mean, most people down here had jobs. I mean, there was unemployment. If you're, punk or skinhead, you weren't going to work. Even if you wanted to, you had no fucking chance. But, if you got your head down, most dads who went to school, we've got jobs, but there's no aspiration. As long as you got a job, that was it. No one was going to university. No one was going to be a doctor or a lawyer or nothing. It was just like a fucking production line. Get out of here, get into work, get on with it, really. But I don't know whether their lives panned out any happier than me for what they did. I don't know. But I mean, it was basically a unique moment in British history that we were part of, wasn't it? And I'm proud I was there, really.
But then, Brighton's synonymous with Peter and the Test Tube Babies, and you've been involved with them. Do you remember them the first time you saw them play?
Yeah, supporting Dead Kennedys. I think Peter did the gig in a policeman's helmet in his underpants. But, I mean, they were great. They had their years, and they've had a few records, in fairness to them. Yeah. And
first time I saw them was in Darlington, 1982, from memory.
I think it's a bit of right place, right time with them, weren't they? I mean, that second album, the Mating Frogs, they definitely earned their right to be in that, the Hall of Fame or whatever, didn't they? But I mean, there were so many good bands in those days, and most people only get to hear the ones that got the records, don't they? There was a lot of good bands that didn't, yourselves included, that didn't get the credit they deserved.
But it changed. Everything was changing. End of 82, 83. A lot of those third wave punk bands were finding it difficult getting gigs. Record sales were falling, and there was a lot of trouble at gigs back then. In fairness, as well.
It was hard work, wasn't it?
Yeah,
I mean, being a punk or a skinhead wasn't an easy shift, was it? Really, you had to really fucking want it. And I think with a lot of these things, when the party ends, the drugs just come in, don't they? And it just all the shit sort of floats to the top, and people with any sense get out of it. Really.
Yeah.
I found it hard to walk away. I mean, we just moved on, but there wasn't much music-wise coming out for quite a while, was there? I mean, the American bands that were a couple of years behind us, they turned up. Yeah. But you know, it was all. I didn't feel quite as excited with a skateboard and fucking baseball hat as I did with a Mohican and a pair of Dr. Martens. It just wasn't the fucking same, was it? Really?
Yeah. So when did you leave school, and what did you do? What was your route into civilian life?
To be honest, I think my parents bought me a record player when I was about 9, and I often think if they bought me a woodwind instrument or something, maybe my life might have been fucking hugely different or something. But I mean, once the punk thing came up, it emphasised that don't fit, don't belong, don't want to be part of this, and I was excluded, they call it now, and things, sent to a reform unit twice a week, 1 o'clock till 3 o'clock, and they just gave you something to get on with that you couldn't fashion into a weapon or cause any offence with, and that was my education for the last year. So I left with nothing, absolutely fuck all. Yeah. I had a year on the dole, about a year and a half on the dole, and then there was a thing called the Manpower Services Commission. They would pay your rent, and they were giving extra 30 quid on top of it if you went to work, which was a fucking deal in those days. I mean, we're talking 90p a pint. You know, it was worth getting out of bed for. And I started working chainsaws. I spent most of my life working as a tree surgeon. Yeah. But I mean, tree surgery is full of people that don't fit or don't belong. No one normal wants to fucking climb 80 foot in the air with a chainsaw. It must be just fuck off, like. But suited me down to the ground, really.
But it was, I mean, it's always going to be a career, or there's always going to be work for tree surgeons. There's enough trees in the world.
When you get my age and your body starts saying no, then you have to start looking elsewhere. It served me well for quite a few years. But
that was another thing. You got into bodybuilding or weightlifting, didn't you? Gym work.
I was roadieing for my friend's band, and they played with the Cro-Mags from New York. They came over, and they were quite interested in us because we were all sleeved up, tattooed arms, and in those days it wasn't very common. And I was quite intrigued by them because they were fit. They looked like they ran or did PE or something, and no one fucking did that shit, did they? In the punk scene. And there was a bit of an incident that I was involved in, and John Joseph, the singer of the Cro-Mags, he just came up to me and he said something daft like, "You've got the eye of the tiger, you should get yourself in a weights gym." And I mean, if I'm honest, I had an issue with, I wanted to fight, I wanted to hurt people all the time, and every one that I smashed to pieces, it gave me back the self-esteem that the shit that happened to me as a child took away from me. So it was it made perfect sense to me, and once you're in that cycle, you attract other like-minded people, and it's only when you get out of it, you think, fucking hell, like, you know what I mean, that wasn't normal. And the gym, I just stuck at it, and I was the best part of 30 years in it, and it was probably, I don't know, salvation's a bit of an exaggeration, but it was the one thing that kept me together, kept me off the drink and the drugs, because you can't work out if you're fucking hanging or coming down. So that cut that right down, and it took away the I want to fucking kill you all the time. It just smoothed over the sharp edges. And also once you, I mean, you know, I was fucking crazed on steroids. I think I had a 49-inch chest at one stage. And it's a good social filter because everyone gets out your way and no one bothers you. If you want a seat in the pub, they give you yours, like, you know. So it served me well, and it kept me healthy as well. But the day I can't go in there, it's going to be a tough day. But
so what's your workout these days then?
Well, you're a gym buddy now, aren't you? I don't know, probably about 6 hours a week, 3 times a week. I get in there. But, you start to realise that your body, you just hit a wall after a while. And it gets hard. It's tough.
See, I prefer working on my cardio to lifting weights. You know, so I try and do as much as that. And for me, when I went back in the gym, it was all about getting myself breathing properly again. You know what I mean, and that definitely helps your posture and the way that
mentally, physically, it's fantastic, isn't it? I mean, I'm one of those people looking. I don't often look in the mirror, but when I do, I'm too tall, too short, too fat, or too thin. But you know, if you feel like you've put in a shift, you kind of feel. You feel all right, don't you? It's like having a new jumper or, you know, football or something, new clothes. It kind of gives you that lift. I mean, I think endorphins, pound for pound, I think, are supposed to be more addictive than heroin, aren't they?
Yeah.
So once you've been in there for time, it's easy to keep going, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's just,
But it's something that a doctor told me, I don't know, 12, 15 years ago. He said the older you get, you've got to keep your blood circulating about your body. And, I've noticed in the past year that's helped regenerate me. Just
quite a lot of people use cocaine for that at our age. I think
you can't
recommend the gym.
Yeah, the gym's much. You can't do that because that kind of like knocks on the next day, and
that's the rest of the week gone. Isn't it?
Exactly. And it's kind of. I think when you get older, you value the days and the hours and the minutes. Yeah, exactly. Everything just slows down. So you got involved with. Pete and Test Tube Babies as well, didn't you?
We were just friends. I used to sit next to Den at the football. They're just friends. I used to go up and sell their merch sometimes, and mainly, if I'm honest, ride on the backs of their fame for my own benefit, really. But we had some good jollies and some good times. Yeah, they were good people. We had a good laugh. Yeah.
So you support Brighton then?
I do. It's a local team. Yeah. It's. I talked to the wife. I was pointing out that Brighton Hove Albion, punk rock, the gym, and her are my 4 longest relationships.
It's all changed now, You were definitely a second division team and lower, for most part of my life.
It was dire. I mean, I kind of drifted away for a few years, but when the club was starting to fall apart and being taken over and run into the ground, it kind of made me realise what an important thing, not only for me, but for so many other people it is. And for years watching Brighton was it was football equivalent of self-harming. It was awful, Home games were at Gillingham, 140-mile round trip on a Saturday. Yeah. Every week was a protest march, a letter, or a petition, or a planning application. And eventually, when we got to the big stadium, I had reservations. I thought it might not feel like our club, but it still does, and the passion kept going. I mean, the first game of the season there, the very first one they played there, we was at Rebellion, and Dan Testue was supposed to be stage managing, and we got up at 4 a.m. and we drove all the way down to be at the game. Yeah. And we got in there, and it was. There was people carrying fucking urns with pictures on. People talk about Newcastle, Liverpool, but the passion here might be on lesser numbers, but it's still comparable with fucking anywhere. Yeah. And it was a hell of a game. And after the game, Dell managed to get on the train, get back to Rebellion, get back in his office, and no one had missed him.
I've been once. I think we played here about 7 years ago. And we might have been winning, and it ended up a draw. It's a lovely stadium you've got.
Yeah.
And the football you're playing these days is a lot better than you were playing under Chris Hooton. He forged a way of winning, but it wasn't pretty to watch, was it?
No, it wasn't. No, Poyet was great. Zerbi's great. We like Mavericks. We like oddballs and people that don't really fit in around. That's Brighton to a T. Yeah. But at the moment it's fantastic. And a lot of big clubs like that, there's that massive expectancy. People kick off if they don't win, but everyone's grateful for fucking anything down here. Every game still is, I think, with our mentality, a cup final. Yeah.
And Gillingham is definitely a trek to get up to. How long did he play your games there?
2 seasons, I think we were there, but you couldn't get in the ground till 2:45, and I think there was like 10 minutes of music there. Until the stockbroke used to play the music, so there was some fucking solace on a shit day up there. But Ken Garden of England, that Gillingham was a fucking outside toilet, a compost heap.
So going back to Criminal Damage, they reformed.
Yeah, just about a year ago today, pretty much. I think we put it together. October the 5th, we released our punk fucking rock EP. 6 songs. First 6 songs in 40 years.
Yeah. So what made you get back together? What was the inspiration?
A few things. Chris the singer died, and Keith had a couple of health problems and stuff, and we kind of realised it was the last chance. So the Chisel covered Criminal Crew. They released a cover of that, and then we started sniffing around and seeing a Funeral Dress had butchered it, but they attempted to cover it, and it seemed right that the band had either a new beginning or fit an epitaph, really. Yeah. And it's our last chance at this age. You try and do this in 10 years' time, we'll be too old or fucked up, or people won't be here, basically.
Yeah. But it's quite difficult, isn't it? Because your drummer lives in LA.
To guitarist Keith lives in
The
LA.
guitarist,
Yeah.
sorry.
Neil Stan Neil, bless him, comes
Yeah.
down and fills in for us twice a week.
Yeah.
He's like our fifth Beatle. No one knows who he is, but. So yeah, it's kind of worked. I mean, Keith, technology, you can send songs backwards and forwards, and it's easy to work like that. And I mean, Keith turned up here in the summer to do the recording, the rehearsal, and he'll fly in next year for the gigs we got then.
So you got some gigs lined up. Where are you playing?
We got Ian's very kindly, because Ian's band Intensive Care were on Country Fit for Heroes too. He was really supportive right from the beginning, and he's put us on at Punk on the Peninsula. And then I think we've got a couple of dates in between, and then we're back down here for the Skinhead reunion in Brighton, and then we've got Rebellion. There's offers from Canada and America for next year, and hopefully there's Europe as also this year.
Yeah. Do some more recording?
We're in week after next. As soon as Christmas is over, we've got another 3 songs. We're hoping that's going to go as part of a split with, I can't say who for the moment, but our favourite American Oi band offered us to do a split EP with them, which is fucking brilliant for us.
Yeah.
And hopefully that's where that'll go, yeah.
Yeah.
But the EP, the Punk Fucking Rock EP, has been released, was on download just only to start with, but it's going to come out on vinyl and CD on Subcults Records, I think, at the end of next month.
Okay, that's good. Thank you, Steve, very much for your time.
It's a pleasure. It's an
Thank
honour
you.
to meet the man from On Parole as well.
Thank you.